here. Welcome to another live album ranking. After yesterday's disaster, fresh day, sun is out, blue skies, everything's going to go right today. Okay, today we're going to look at the live albums of Meat Loaf. Always sort of planned to do this at some stage, but taking that he sadly left us now, I thought this would be an appropriate place to do this. So there's 6 official, and I've actually included a album that got is a not a download as such. I think it's just taken from a video that came out at the time. So coming in at number 7, we have the Guilty Pleasure Tour, released in 2012 and was recorded at in Sydney, Australia. The musicians on the album are, of course, Meat Loaf lead vocals, Patti Rousseau female lead vocals, John Massili drums, Paul Cook guitar, Randy Flowers guitar and backing vocals, Dave Luther saxophone, keyboards and backing vocals, Danny Miranda bass and backing vocals, Justin Avery piano and backing vocals, Ginny Luke violin and backing vocals. So this one actually opens up something from Rocky Horror. It's the Hot Patootie and Time War. Bit unusual, but yeah, pretty cool. Then we've got If It Ain't Broke, Break It, Bat Out of Hell, Peace on Earth, Los Angelusa, You Took the Words Right Out of My Mouth, Sand in Storm, I'll Do Anything for Love But I Won't Do That, 2 out of 3 Ain't Bad, and Boneyard. Okay, by this time poor old Meat's voice was not as strong. He had a lot of help with the backing vocals on this. I'm not saying that it's bad, it's not, it's still a fine performance by Meat. Patti Rousseau is fantastic on this. The rest of the band are pretty cool. They've had to change the key a little bit for him, so they're not quite sounding the same. It's still a good album, so I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 6, we have VH1 Storytellers. Now this is a live album, plus a little bit of banter from Meat. He tells the humorous stories of his career as a singer and how he unfolded into rock and roll stardom. This came out in 1999. So on here we've got Meat Loaf lead vocals and guitar, Patti Rousseau female vocals, Damon Lescott lead guitar, Ray Anderson rhythm guitar, Kazem Sultan the bass guitar, Tom Bruslin piano and vocals, John Massili on drums, and Pearl Aday, which is Meat's stepdaughter, on backing vocals. We've got on here All Revved Up, No Place to Go, Life is a Lemon and I Want My Money Back. And there's a little bit of a story. Then we got You Took the Words Right Out of My Mouth, I Do Anything for Love, Lawyers, Guns and Money, More Than You Deserve, which is a brilliant version, Bat Out and then there's a little bit about how the album came out, Bat Out of Hell, a wonderful version of Heaven Can Wait, Paradise by the Dashboard Light, 2 out of 3, and Bat Out of Hell. There's a bonus track of Is Nothing Sacred featuring Patti Rousseau. This is a lovely album. It's got some nice songs on it, but what makes this album is the stories that Meat tells. He tells them about how he met Jim, and then how they got the record deal for Bat Out of Hell, talking to the crowd. It's a fantastic little album. it's always worth a listen, and I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 7.4. Okay, coming in at number 5, we have 3 Bats Live, recorded on the 18th of March 2007 in London, Ontario, during the Seize the Night tour. This features Meat Loaf on lead vocals, Kazim Sultan on the bass, John Massili drums, Mark Alexander on the keyboards, Paul Crook guitars, Randy Flowers guitars, Dave Luther on the sax, Marion Raven guest vocals, Aspen Miller vocals, and Skolati Jablomsky on vocals. So on here we've got All Revved Up with No Place to Go, Paradise by the Dashboard Light, I'll Do Anything for Love But I Won't Do That, Rock and Roll Dreams Come True. That is the best version of that song that I've got. I love that. A great version of Bad for Good, another good version of It Ain't Broke, Break It. Blind as a Bat's pretty cool on here. It's All Coming Back to Me. It's got Marion Raven on vocals, fantastic performance by her. Bat Out of Hell, and then a great version of Black Betty. Great version. Again, a very good album. Probably the last time we really heard Meat, one of his last real great performances before his voice started to change. It's an enjoyable, very short album, but it's got some long tracks on it, so I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.5. Okay, coming in at number 4, we have Live at Wembley in 1987. I saw them on this tour. It is fantastic. It was a fantastic tour. And on this version of his band we had Meat Loaf on the vocals, Bob Kulick on the guitars, Alan I Love Rock and Roll Merrill on guitars, Steve Burslow on the bass, Frankie Doyle on the keyboards, Chuck Berge on drums, and Amy and Elaine Goff doing the vocals. This opens up with Blind Before I Stop. All I'll say, all the tracks off the Blind Before I Stop album sound brilliant live. They are much heavy. We haven't got any of that 80s production. It's just pure rock and roll, and they are absolutely the best versions of these songs. So we've got Blind Before I Stop, killer track. Live, Rock and Roll Mercenaries, absolutely brilliant. You took the words right out of my mouth. Really good. A stonking version of Midnight at the Lost and Found. Modern Girl's pretty good. A bit of an edited version of Paradise by the Dashboard Light, but they just cut out the argument. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Pretty cool. Bat Out of Hell, and then you get an EP, bonus EP, a great version of Masculine that sounds awful on the album, but boy is it good live. It's hard, it's heavy, the riffs in this are terrific. And then we get this little rock and roll melody that he did right at the end of the show after about 2.5 hours on stage. The rock and roll melody is Johnny B. Good, Jailhouse Rock, Slowed Down, Blue Suede Shoes, and a reprise of Johnny B. Good. Excellent album. Very special to me because I saw them on this tour. It was the first time I saw Meat Loaf, and it totally blew me away. Well, no, the second time. First full show, second time of seeing him, and I loved it. And it's a very short album, but it's a very special album to me. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 3. This is that album that is not an official album, but I couldn't leave it out. It's Meat Loaf and the Neverland Express on the Bad Attitude Tour, live from 1985. I think this was recorded at the Hammersmith Odeon. I saw Meat Loaf again on this tour. He was at Nebworth in 1985. So we got Meat Loaf, Bob Kulick, Paul Jacobs on guitars, piano, John Golden, Barry Chatton on the keyboard, Andy Wells on the drums. We've got female singers Katie Mack and Doreen Chanter. Opens up with a stonking version of Bad Attitude. Again, all these songs that he'd done from the Bad Attitude album sound so much better live, and that's why I've included it in this ranking. Got a great version of Dead Ring of Love, even better than the original version actually. It's absolutely stonking version. Jumping the Gun is brilliant on here. Midnight the Lost and Found, another good version. And an absolutely belting version of Paradise by the Dashboard Light. I think I put the video to this in the tribute I did. So we won't be having that today. I'll put another one on today in the playlist for you. Nowhere Fast. Sounds brilliant. Hasn't got that clunky drumming. It's got proper booming drumming from Andy Wells, and it really is heavy. Piece of the Action's pretty cool on here. All Revved Up with No Place to Go. A brilliant version of Modern Girl. 2 out of 3. And Bat Out of Hell. Great album. Love listening to this one. I mean, I actually had the VHS video to this. I think I got rid of it. It's gone now, but I know the concert's on YouTube, so if you want to watch it, you can. So I'll give this one an RTO ranking of 8.5. Okay, then coming in at number 2, we have Bat Out of Hell live with the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra. Recorded in Melbourne during the Australian tour. It contains a lot of performances and 7 tracks off the Bat Out of Hell album. On here we have got Meat Loaf on the vocals, Patti Rousseau doing the lead female vocal, Paul Crook on the guitars, Randy Flowers guitars, Kazim Sultan on the bass, Mark Alexander on keyboards, John Maselli drums, the Australian Boys Choir, CC Coletti on backing vocals, and the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra conducted by Mr. Keith Leveson. Opens up with this great drumming piece, and then we go into Life is a Lemon and I Want My Money Back. Cool version of Mercury Blues. Then we get Dead Ringer for Love, which is pretty good with the orchestra. Testify is great with the orchestra. These are all good with that orchestra. All Revved Up, You Took the Words, couldn't have said it better. Probably the best version of that song I've got. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. A brilliant rendition of Out of the Frying Pan Into the Fire. For Crying Out Loud, one of my favourite songs by Meat Loaf, as you know. That is brilliant. Paradise by the Dashboard Light. It's pretty cool. You get the argument and everything else. It's pretty good. I'll Do Anything for Love, but I won't do that. Brilliant version of that. And of course, Bat Out of Hell. Absolutely entertaining. It's on DVD as well. It's an absolute belter. It's very entertaining to watch, because when you go to a Meat Loaf show, you don't just get them on the stage, you get this theatrical side of Meat Loaf, which is absolutely brilliant. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 9 out of 10. So coming in at number 1 is Live Around the World, released in 1996 to capitalise on his 2 recent successes of Bat Out of Hell and Welcome to the Neighbourhood. This album is songs taken from various times between 1987, 1995 and 1996. So you've got a lot of people playing on this. So the people that are actually playing on this is Meat Loaf vocals, Pat Thrall lead guitars, Kazim Sultan on rhythm guitars and keyboards, Steve Burslow on the bass and backing vocals, Mark Alexander piano and keyboards. We got John Maselli on the drums, Patti Rousseau on vocals, Perla Day on vocals, and we've had a special guest. We've got Paul Merkovich on All Revved Up, Jeff Bother on All Revved Up, Jim Steinman on piano on Heaven Can Wait, and vocal on Wasted Youth. Steve Lukather additional guitar. Opens up with I'll do anything for love, but I won't do that. You took the words right out of my mouth. Life is a lemon and I want my money back. Great song. Another good version of Rock and Roll Dreams come through. Dead Ringer for Love's pretty cool on here. Heaven Can Wait, all revved up. Probably a great version of Paradise by the Dashboard Light. The argument in that is hilarious. Wasted Youth is pretty good. Out of the frying pan and into the fire is brilliant. A stunking version of Objects in the Rear View Mirror. Absolutely beautiful version. Midnight the Lost and Found, always a great track. Good Girls Go to Heaven, Bad Girls Go Everywhere, another brilliant version of that. What You See Is What You Get, I love that on here. 2 out of 3, and then a stonking version of Hot Patootie, probably the best version I've got. He really went for it on that one. A beautiful version of For Crying Out Loud, one of my favourite tracks. And we end up with Bat Out of Hell. This is probably some of the greatest live performances that have been captured by Meat Loaf. His voice was absolutely electric between that period. I luckily just see him quite a few times in that period, and it was fantastic. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 9.5. Okay, one more show for the week. We've got it's only a one-off album at the moment. We're hoping that we'll get some more. We've got Allen and Olsen, Worlds Apart. I'll see you for that. So take care for now.